everyone, welcome to The Feel Between. I'm Yasmine.
I'm Ahmed. Sorry, hold on, I'm playing with the levels.
No worries.
Okay.
Another take?
No, it's fine.
No. It is a very special day.
Why?
It's the first day of Ahmed's unemployment.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, today's Monday, and I didn't have to wake up and go to a meeting.
Yeah. We woke up very early, kind of randomly, but still, no meeting was waiting for you.
Yeah, it feels pretty good.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
That's good.
But you have to go.
I do. We're recording this in the morning, Monday morning, so I'm headed to work after this.
Yeah. Not me. I might go to a coffee shop and read.
Oh, that sounds so nice.
Or do job applications or something. I don't know.
I feel like your first day off, like obviously I know you have a lot of stuff you want to work on. I feel like your first day off, you should just like chill and then get to like business tomorrow. But you should do whatever your heart desires.
Tomorrow's business day?
Yeah. You got to really enjoy the first day of unemployment.
Oh, shoot. That's true. Yeah.
Just a thought.
There's a lot going on. I have like 2 meetings this week.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
For what?
For the campaign.
Well, you're kind of working part-time essentially then. Like
it's volunteer.
Very part-time, but yeah.
Yeah, it's all volunteer.
Right.
And tomorrow I have to make a bunch of fundraising phone calls. But should be fun. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited for you.
See how it goes. Okay, what's going on? What are we talking about today?
First, just like life updates. Let's see. Your parents were here this last weekend. That was fun.
Yeah.
We had really good weather.
Maybe that's probably why we slept in so much. It's because now they're not here.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was fun to have them.
We went to bed early, I guess, because we
Yeah.
were tired. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was super fun to have them. But like having house guests and then like having your own space is always like a difference. But it was lovely having them.
Yeah.
It was their first time visiting us. So it was just good for them to see where we are. And I was happy they came.
I found out something new about my parents, which is they like to wake up at 2 a.m. and have tea. Like, it's just like, it's gnome behavior.
It was very like cartoon behavior. Yeah. Well, I thought they were up for Fudger at first. And then I checked my phone and it was like only 2 a.m. And I was like, what?
You just hear like scuttling around. Yeah. But it was, I think.
That aside, it was a really
my mom
lovely
really
time.
liked the garden.
I'm so glad you took her to Phipps.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then my dad
liked the bridges.
Really liked the bridges. He was pointing out that they used bolts instead of rivets.
Yeah, your dad is an engineer, so he really appreciates that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's good. What else? I can't remember what else we did. I think they liked.
We showed them campus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have liked to show him more of CMU. If I had thought ahead a little bit more, I would have gotten someone who knows the campus a little bit better to show us some cool stuff. Because I'm sure there were probably like a robotics lab or something that he could have seen.
Yeah, actually your dad probably would have liked that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think they liked what they did see.
Yeah.
And they get tired easily, so we had to kind of do things in smaller stretches.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we still managed to get out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Your mom made a ton of kosheri, which is very sweet.
Made some kosheri.
We got kosheri for days now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We gave some to the guys who run the Syrian cafe.
Yeah.
Down the street.
Yeah.
So that was nice. I wonder how they liked it.
I don't know. We'll have to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you had some like kind of political election follow-up, right? Before we get into our very low-key, lighthearted topic for today, which is Love Is Blind Habibi.
Yeah.
But first, some election thoughts. Wrap up thoughts.
Before that, news update.
Uh-huh.
Apparently, Mattel, the toy company, I just saw this, so I thought it was funny. They made like the play Wicked?
Yeah.
They made like a witch Barbie or something. I don't know.
Oh, probably because they're coming out with a movie version of the play.
Right.
Yeah.
And they accidentally printed on the box for that Barbie, they accidentally printed like a porn website link.
No.
To it.
No, what?
Yeah.
How do you accidentally do that?
I guess
someone was looking at porn at work.
I don't know. It's like it goes. I mean, it says the URL according to this is wicked.com, but apparently that's a porn site.
Oh, so maybe they just meant to like put promotion and they accidentally put a porn site.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sad.
But I predict that these new online conservatives are about to go nuts about this.
Yeah, because it
They're
feeds
like,
into a lot of like pedophilia.
Right.
Like, yeah.
They're like, they're trying to take our children to a porn website and use witchcraft. Why are they doing this?
Oh, you're right.
It's not a coincidence.
With the witchcraft, it's also kind of a perfect storm.
Yeah. Barbie used to be a homemaker. But
now she's a witch.
A porn
pornographic
star,
witch.
Pornographic witch.
I mean, that sounds pretty hot.
Yeah. I mean, do you want me to get you one?
No, I'm good. But
okay.
Yeah. I was never a huge Barbie person. I liked like dolls, but not Barbie that much.
Why? Well, Barbie's a doll.
Yeah, but Barbie, like, I don't know. She's a particular type of doll. I liked like baby dolls.
You thought she got too woke?
Yeah, I was canceling her.
You didn't like all the diversity?
No, she just like, it wasn't fun playing with her. Like her body didn't look real. You know, I don't know. She just wasn't for me.
But what doll looks? I've seen the dolls you have. Like Raggedy Ann doesn't look real. You know?
No, my doll Prada, which is such a New York City thing that I named that doll Prada. She looked very realistic. She looked like a little baby. I'll get Prada out of storage so you can see her.
So she had a realistic body?
Yeah, she did. I mean, she was like meant to be a baby doll. Like she looked like she was a baby. You know, yeah.
So you like realism?
Yeah, I do. I went through a weird phase when I was younger where I was really obsessed with the idea of what Prada would look like when she grew up. Yeah. And like I would sometimes see like women on the street and I'd be like, that looks like Prada.
You think that's okay? Maybe I'm sure other girls did that. They're like, oh, you look like my doll.
Like if she were to grow up, yeah.
Did you have a sense of like what she would do for a living?
No, I didn't.
Or any of her aspirations?
She was going to be like kind of a cool New York girl, but that's all I knew.
Her job was going to be cool in New York.
Yeah. Really? Maybe she's an influencer. That was before that time, but
wow.
Yeah, she was just going to look cool and walk around wearing edgy fashion.
Is that what you wanted to do?
No, that's what Prada wanted to do.
But that's not like you didn't want that for yourself.
I don't think so. I always wanted to be a writer.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So you weren't like projecting something that you wanted to do onto your doll, who is presumably it's like a parent-child relationship, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
That's good parenting.
Yeah. Maybe it's like a part of yourself. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your did you have like any toys that you were like emotionally attached to when you were a kid?
Emotionally attached to?
Yeah.
No. Yeah. I had like some toy cars and some dinosaurs. That's it.
You were never as into dinosaurs. That was our nephew, right?
I didn't like imagine their futures or anything. Okay. Like I wasn't.
The future of dinosaurs is not looking good.
Yeah. Or they didn't have personalities or anything that they just looked cool. I think that was
nice.
Most of it for me. It was like the
aesthetic.
Angles. Yeah.
Nice.
The proportions.
All right, give us your more serious news update before we get into Love Is Blind Habibi.
Yeah, so real quick, I wanted to talk about Bernie Sanders and the fallout of this election because a lot of people have been sharing the letter that he wrote that, I guess
I shared it last podcast, yeah.
And you shared it last podcast. It's hard to disagree with, the statement that, of course, labor in the U.S. is going to abandon the Democrats because the Democrats have done nothing but abandon labor, at least since the 70s. I agree with that sentiment, but I also think it's important to talk about my frustration and what I now know, because I posted a story about this just very briefly, like a very brief sort of take, and it seems like a lot of people agreed with it. Yeah, there's a frustration with Bernie Sanders for having enabled all of this. And I blame him as much as I blame Kamala Harris or Joe Biden because had it not been for him essentially handing over the infrastructure of the movement that was based around him in 2016 and 2020, had he not handed all that over to the Democratic Party, we may have had a viable third-party option this election. But he did do that. He kind of kowtowed to the Democratic Party and allowed them to kind of subsume everything that he had kind of worked for to be subsumed into the Democratic Party. And I think that really deflated the movement before it had a chance to get off the ground and be resilient without a figurehead like Bernie Sanders. And so, yeah, I'm kind of frustrated because he abandoned like a pretty nascent working class movement. And had he not, who knows, we may have had someone else in the White House who may have taken different approaches to Gaza and a lot of the things that have happened over the last year. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I've definitely heard people making that critique, and I think that there's some merit to it. I don't know though. I feel like part of not being like just like seeing that the movement is bigger than your person is like building coalition. And I think there's a whole class of like progressives who have come up, like a lot of members of the squad, that kind of thing, that wouldn't have been able to without Bernie Sanders kind of first coming on the scene in a really public way. So I think he has like tried to build a coalition and tried to, as much as possible, push, like enriching the left wing of the Democratic Party. I'm pretty pessimistic about the like chances of us having a viable third party, particularly after this election. And so I feel like it's not a bad strategy to just try and like move some of the Democrats further left, or like create more space for true progressivism within the Democratic Party. I mean, the thing is, you have to constantly fight the Democrats tooth and nail to do that. Even seeing the way that people have like turned on AOC, like Democrats have turned on AOC after she like did her best to try and like help them out, is kind of crazy. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like Bernie Sanders has never like abandoned the messages that he ran on. Like he still has continued to try and fight for like working class people. And so I don't think he's like been subsumed by the Democratic Party in that way. I think that he probably just did the calculus and thought that like it would be easier to push for the policies he holds dear under a Harris presidency than it will now be under a Trump presidency. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, so your point about him being kind of a precursor, or kind of making it so that people like AOC and Ilhan Omar and
Cory Bush and
all of those, the squad, whatever, could find an opening within the Democratic Party. I mean, I agree, right? Like he did precede that. But I guess that's exactly my point, is that this was still a nascent movement. It's like, what, we have 7, however many squad members or whatever. And it's starting to get to the point where people who take up somewhat centrist Democratic positions are starting to consider themselves squad, or like they kind of speak, try to appear as if they would be progressive members, but really they're really not. I think Pramila Jayapal being like one of those people. But that's the thing. It's like it was starting to build, and it seemed like maybe there was a strategy, or it was possible to do it shift the Democratic Party strategy from within for a little while. But now it doesn't really seem that way, right? So I guess the things that Bernie brought up in the 2016 election being like that everyone felt like they had to adopt to a certain extent, which was Medicare for all, $15 minimum wage, all that stuff. Certainly he moved the needle on the popularity for that and gave it like a popular voice. And a lot of people, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Amy Klobuchar, Pete Buttigieg, like everyone who was running leading up to 2020 was taking up those positions. And now you don't hear the Democratic Party talking at all about a $15 minimum wage. You don't hear them
she didn't
talking.
mention it at all in the campaign.
Yeah, you don't hear them talking at all. Like they just have totally abandoned Medicare for all.
But I don't know if that's Bernie Sanders' fault. I mean, it wasn't for lack of him trying.
No, it's not Bernie Sanders' fault. I'm pushing back against the idea that the Democratic Party will be shifted from within, because you see they have actually like again, like Bernie's movement kind of got subsumed into the Democratic Party. And what happens is that the Democratic Party pulls you right, you don't pull them left. Because fundamentally it is a corporate party with corporate backers, and they're just going to do whatever's, and Gaza has also made them a lot more right wing of a party, because now what they are trying to do is cater to like this moderate, mythical moderate Republican voter, and their positions now seem to be a lot more about immigration than they seem to be about, even build back better infrastructure. Like they're starting to, what we're seeing is like they're talking a lot more about military immigration and then like police funding and all that stuff.
I really hope they learn from like just how many people didn't show up to the polls. I mean, I doubt they will. I have very little faith in the party, but yeah, people just didn't show up because like they basically ran a campaign aimed at centrist Republicans, and like Republicans can just vote Republican. Like They didn't really, I mean, we've said this before, they really didn't go at all for like even the center left of their own party.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
I don't believe that. I guess this is where we disagree. Is the strategy is like, can you shift the Democratic Party left? I think what's been proven through these elections is that it will not be. It can't.
I just don't know what alternative there is. Like, I don't see any third party that is viable currently. I mean, hopefully one can be built, but I don't. Yeah, there's nothing. Yeah, I don't know.
No, that's fair. I don't see one right now that can just jump in and replace the Democratic Party. But I think, to me, it feels like a lot more, I guess, I don't know, achievable is not the right word, but it feels like a lot more necessary of a strategy to build something outside the Democratic Party than to just continue running into the wall of the Democratic Party. Because not only is it not shifting right, but it's just allowing other donors, like AIPAC, which we talked about a lot, to just run primary campaigns against popular progressive candidates, right? Yeah. And I don't see that stopping either.
I think you're really right about the corporate interests. I mean, like, it's just gross how much the Harris campaign spent, and like the amount of debt that they're in is actually insane.
Like, how much?
Apparently, they're in $20 million of debt, which is crazy.
That's not that much.
I mean, they spent $1 million, so that's crazy.
Who are they in debt to?
I don't know. I should look more into it, but they're still fundraising, and it's really awkward. Like, the DNC is still reaching out to people. They're now going to apparently try and like sell like the email lists they cultivated in order to like pay back some of their debt. But just like her spending strategy was crazy. She gave like Beyonce like a shit ton of money. She rebuilt a set.
Is Beyonce gonna like break Kamala's knees? What's going on?
I don't know.
Why?
She rebuilt a set for like the Call Her Daddy podcast. Instead of like going to LA, she rebuilt the same set like wherever that lady came to her. Just like the way that she spent money was so irresponsible. And so like, again, like just so obnoxiously out of touch with like people who are struggling financially, to be like, hey, Beyonce, Katy Perry, like, it's not like a fucking, like, I feel like they think that we're like circus animals. Like, we're not, like, you know what I mean? It's just so stupid.
You're a bunch of clapping seals.
Yeah, like, we're just going to kind of be like, oh, well, if Beyonce was on stage with you, even though you paid her like thousands and thousands of dollars, then I'll vote for you. Like, it's not, this is like actual bread and butter issues were not at all on the table.
Yeah.
So I think you're really right about the corporate interests. I don't know.
That Donald Trump tweet makes a lot more sense now.
Oh yeah, I thought he played that so smart. He was like offering to like pay off her debt.
Yeah. Well, I didn't see that he offered to pay it off, but he was just like, we got to help them out. Anyway. They're going through a really hard time now.
He's getting a little more subtle with his. I mean, meanwhile, of course, Trump is like, his like actual assets are like totally inflated, but whatever. But yeah, it's one thing to be like personally inflating your assets, another thing to like fucking have your whole party just like be so fiscally irresponsible. Yeah. It's crazy.
That's awesome. They went into debt to
by like millions of dollars.
I wonder if that's normal though. I wonder if it's just being reported on now to kind of further pile on.
That's a good point. I don't know how normal that is. Apparently like the whole like selling off email listservs is a little weird, like and not totally normal. The fact that people are still getting fundraising texts from the DNC after they lost is not totally normal.
Yeah, I've gotten a few actually. That's
same.
Yeah,
it's like
That's hilarious.
It's not enough that y'all already lost so tremendously. Now I have to
Is Joe Biden going to be on like Cameo?
I don't
doing,
know.
$5 cameos.
I saw a good tweet. It was something like, "Oh, now I have to fundraise for the headstone too." After you already ran this into the ground.
Yeah.
Anyway, anything else to say on our political updates before we move into a very lighthearted topic?
No.
Nice. Okay, so yesterday we watched Love Is Blind Habibi.
Mm-hmm.
Ahmed was super sweet because it is maybe not his favorite show, but he was down to watch it with me.
Yeah.
So we reviewed Love Is Blind once before.
Yeah.
But that was like the normal franchise.
Yeah.
Love Is Blind is the first reality TV show I ever got into. I started watching it during COVID. That's when it first came out. And the whole premise is that you're in these pods talking to people. You can't see them. And you propose like sight unseen. And I like to think that if we were in pods, we would choose each other without even seeing each other.
I was telling you yesterday, I feel like they should call it Love Is Not Blind.
because the people aren't blind. The people are made blind.
But no, because the people are blind.
Right.
And the idea is that you're supposed to be proving love is not.
Yeah.
Right. It can see through
walls. I don't know if it's as catchy, but I guess maybe it's more semantically correct. Yeah.
I don't know. It's not just semantically. Right? It's just, like the idea is, that's what they say at the end of the last episode we watched. They're like, we prove that love is
blind,
not blind.
Oh, they do?
Right?
I think they say we prove that love is blind, but I think you're right that they probably should say the other way.
Right.
Anyway, this one is set in Dubai. Boo for Dubai as a concept, as a place. But it was interesting. It's in Arabic, so I watched it with subtitles. What were your thoughts?
Tattoos. Lots of tattoos.
I was surprised.
To see that. Yeah.
Same, yeah.
I could not. So we watched episodes like 1, 4, and like whatever the last one is.
Yeah, we only watched a few.
We started to watch in order, and I was just like, I can't do this. So we didn't watch all the episodes.
We only watched 3 episodes. Yeah. We watched like critical turning points. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I was surprised to see all these tattoos that both the men and women had, and then some of the men had piercings. The amount of what's it called?
Plastic
surgery was just insane.
Yeah.
Like I only found like 2 or 3 people on this season actually attractive.
Yeah.
Everyone else felt like a simulation of a person. Like their skin was just like pulled way too tight over their face skin was pulled back, and like just
very
these like fillers, and like cheeks and like nose jobs. Some of the people who were like a little bit more jarring to look at, you just see them flash in that first episode, and I don't think they follow them throughout the rest of the season, but it's just like so disturbing. And like one of the main women who has gone viral since this came out, Noor, just looks like fucking like a Muppet because of just like the lip fillers. It is
a little sad like how much there's become like one standard of what's attractive. Like, I mean, of course there's always been like beauty standards, but like the kind of natural varieties in our faces are like such a point of beauty.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds really basic, but I feel like it's true. Yeah. It's weird to see one face replicated so much globally. It's like a Kardashian face, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It seems like it's kind of converging on that. I'm not like oh my God, babe, you'd be so much more beautiful without makeup and like don't get whatever. I'm like, people should do whatever they feel like.
Yeah.
I'm not making like a moral judgment here, but it is
a little jarring.
Just not it creeps me out, I guess is what I'm saying.
No, you're right. And I think it just kind of also speaks to like the kind of soullessness of Dubai and the kind of like people having a certain standard and the kind of influence our life a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that was interesting about this edition of the show is that there wasn't alcohol. And also like after they met in the pods, they don't like live together. Obviously they like have their own rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that kind of gave it a slightly different feel because part of like the weird like insinuation with the regular Love Is Blind is like, oh, now they get to like have sex and see if they're physically compatible.
Right.
And this was kind of more like an extended dating period.
Yeah. They're like, let me give you a hug.
Yeah, that was kind of sweet.
whatever, yeah, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Most of when a lot of people from Maghrib, so very hard to understand when they got into an argument. There's like, I was just like okay, and then there's like this section where this couple who are both from Morocco are just arguing with each other, and I'm like, I have no fucking idea.
That was a really kind of funny subplot in the show, actually. Like at one point, also these two men get into a fight, and one of them like doesn't really speak very much Arabic at all, but they all both are French speakers, so they're like screaming in French, and this man is like, "Someone translate!"
Yeah,
like they don't know whose fault it is or what's happening.
Yeah, I get the sense that the producers also made everyone speak like important moments in English so that they could still, because this is ultimately, I think, just for people like us who are, somewhat, Arab diaspora, whatever. Not you, but anyway, or like brown diaspora who are looking to watch.
I wonder if people are watching it in Dubai. They probably are. I don't know enough to know, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing. It's just like they are probably trying to get somewhat of a new audience, but also still not lose audience here.
Yeah. I think that also just speaks to, though, how much people of a certain class globally do speak partially in English. I think that's probably true everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, they move a lot. It's actually cool to see the linguistic variety. They move a lot out of like some of them like their Arabic dialect and then English and French.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty common in a lot of places, but very impressive as a monolingual American.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a lot of like hypocrisy, which I think comes on the show always, but I feel like it was like a little heightened here. Like there's this one Syrian guy who he's of Syrian descent, but he grew up in the UAE, and he didn't want his like girlfriend or whatever to dance.
Yeah. So yeah, it's always, this is the thing with Love Is Blind. It's just like so funny how they choose to frame and like capture moments where conflict arises.
Yeah.
And so they're listing things that they like to do. He says his name is Amar.
Yeah. She's Karma, I think.
Yeah. Is that her name? Karma?
Yeah, I think it's her nickname. I don't know what her actual name is.
Yeah. And then I forget what he says. He, going to the gym, he's dentist, whatever. He likes to, whatever. I don't know. And then she starts listing off the things that she likes to do, and she's she's like, I like to dance, and then suddenly it's just like this, this like chord, this like staccato chord, it's like, oh, and you see this look on his face. He's like, whoa, hold on, dance, and then he's just like, I don't like that, and that becomes essentially the thing that ultimately tears them apart. I
feel like he wasn't really that into her though. Like once he met her in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
probably,
yeah.
Because his whole thing was that he's a handsome guy. He's really fit because he does steroids. And then he's like, I care about like beauty and that she has a good body. And then I want her to be in the house taking care of children.
Yeah.
So she also never really got into, at least from the episodes we watched, it's like, what kind of dancing does she mean? Like in what sense? Because she's not like a dancer by profession. So I was a little confused.
It's like her hobby.
But like in what setting? Like
I don't know. I didn't get that like far. You're right.
Yeah.
But she does point out, which I thought was really fair. He like appears shirtless to show off his bod, and like
in the show,
which like, and she said this in the reunion, and she was like, and you look great, mashallah, but like, why are you able to do that and I can't, like,
Yeah, so that was an annoying double standard. Actually, I went to his Instagram page, and he has like a bunch of shirtless workout pictures on his like highlights.
Yeah, which like fine, but then you can't want some lady who's going to be like fully covered. Yeah, and like really careful with that.
But it seemed like a lot of everyone else just agreed. They're like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
Oh, they seemed kind of split. There was like 3 women that were a little more like, I don't know. I don't want to say progressive because they weren't that progressive, but like on that kind of stuff, they kind of were more aligned, and then the rest kind of disagreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Moroccan couple was so toxic. I loved them. Because at first it just seems like he's crazy and like not a great guy.
Yeah.
But then it turns out she's kind of crazy too, and they sort of deserve each other. Like he's like a little controlling and annoying, but then she's like rude to the waitress, and he's like, "What the fuck, man?" Basically, and she's like, "I can be rude if I want to," and he's like, "No, you can't." And then you're like, "Wow, you're both really shitty in different ways."
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought it was cute. Like, I don't really know much about like life in Dubai, but I thought it was sweet that they were so drawn to each other, like as Moroccans in Dubai.
Well, that was they were meeting, and then when he proposed to her, he's going on for forever. He's like, I'm looking for this. This is what I want, blah, blah, blah. And he's like leading up to asking her to marry him.
Yeah.
And she's just sitting there in the other pod listening, and she's tearing up. She's like, she's just like, you captured me so well. But like the only thing that he actually said about her, describing her, is he's like, you are from the country that I'm from.
Yeah. What is it? Baladi or yeah.
Yeah.
Like basically like you're my countrywoman. That was like, which like obviously there's many women in Morocco.
Yeah.
That was like their one point of connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the rest of it was just like him saying things that he wants. Like he's like, I want a relationship built on mutual respect, and like I want to feel respected, and you know, I want to be able to build my business and all this stuff. And she's like, really beautiful. And it's just like, okay, he didn't actually say anything about you, but you know, maybe the producers and editors cut around.
Oh, yeah, but it didn't seem like it was
stuff.
Particular like specific. Yeah.
No.
The main couple who got married were really cute. I liked them.
Yeah. Once you got into that last episode and then you get some insight into how the relationship has been going, I felt a little less warm about it.
Why? I thought they were open about like things that are common when you get married quickly, like still working through some stuff.
Yeah, but stuff that I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't have faith that. I don't know. I guess I'm just being judgmental.
I think like, I don't know. I think if you have a short dating period and then you get married, because this was like our story, it's not uncommon to still be figuring out some stuff, like not in a serious way, but like you're still growing together, you know?
Yeah.
Not that we were on Love Is Blind, but we did get married like a year and a half into, you know, dating.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
yeah,
they had only been together for a year.
That's true.
And I think he said he had some jealousy issues, but that he had worked on it. So I thought that was like generous and open.
And her main thing, I guess they also, I actually don't remember what one of the main contention with them that they set up in this is that she's like way better looking than he is. Well, they didn't frame that as a problem, but she is. Yeah. But that is just my observation of the
relationship. Yeah, I know. She's much more. He's not ugly though. He's like perfectly cute.
He's ugly.
He's not handsome, but he's not like, I feel like that's harsh. But yeah, she's like very attractive. She's like notably attractive. And she was also attractive in like a non-plastic way, which is very refreshing.
Yes. Like naturally, she's like actually gorgeous.
Yeah.
And then he's just like a kind of a troll guy. But
I think that's harsh.
All right, I'll move
continue.
on. Sure. But the main contention that they set up in this is that he or she needs to travel like weekly for work.
Yeah, every weekend she was going to Basra in Iraq, which is a lot.
Yeah, I don't know what the flight is, but I'm guessing like, you know. But it sounds like she was gone for multiple days, and then like,
it sounds like she was gone most weekends. Like that's a part that's a bummer. It's probably not that far, but yeah.
And then in their conversations after they like were out of the pods, and he was like, you know, I'm not gonna tell you what to do, but like, is this instead of taking the approach of like, how do we sort of figure it out? Do you like your job? I don't think he even asked her like, do you like your job? Do you like doing that? Like, what's going? He was immediately like, oh, this is a problem. Like, we gotta figure out how to make it not a problem anymore.
I don't know. I feel like he knew that it was important to her. I think they'd already talked about that because he said like, I know how important your work is to you, and I wouldn't ask you to leave your work.
Right.
But I feel like, I don't know. I feel like if you're just starting a relationship with someone and they're gone every weekend, that is kind of daunting. I think it's fair to not like be thrilled about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Obviously, if you've been together, like if you like are getting married and making that intention, you have a lifetime, and there might be periods where that happens. But I think like she was 37 and she wanted kids, so she's gonna to have kids like ASAP because she's already like, you know, older to be having kids. Yeah. She's gonna do it without medical intervention. So that's also like kind of a hard schedule to keep up, with a kid.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's kind of like this sucks, but sometimes it is like, can you have it all? And it's like, no, not everything at the same way at the same time,
Yeah. I think what else? There was this with the Noor. So Noor and I at first I was just like, there are no Egyptians on this, which kind of was going to annoy me. But then it turned out there was one guy who they don't actually ever state that he's Egyptian, but you can just kind of tell by the way.
So I was reading, you mean Muhammad, who ended up with the woman
With
who looked
Noor.
like... Oh, okay. Gotcha. But
Yeah.
also apparently the guy who ended up, the couple who got married, he's Palestinian. And apparently,
They don't talk about it. That's
apparently they really don't
crazy.
talk about it, which is weird. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's also, I want to say, I actually don't, it depends on when they filmed it. But even the fact that he's Palestinian, if they filmed this before October 7th, and even if he's still Palestinian, the fact that they did not mention it is kind of crazy.
No, there was criticism on that online that it was kind of weird that it wasn't like mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, back to the Egyptian
That's
guy.
insane. But they also don't mention that this guy is Egyptian ever, which is obviously like not a political decision, maybe. But they also like, the Egyptian guy, he's like a short dude.
Yeah.
And that's his like main insecurity.
Yeah. But then he chose to be with a model.
Well, that's the thing. He's like, he's in the, I'm like, if you're insecure about being short, if that's like, you're like, I need to eliminate people who are taller than me, where it's going to be a problem that I am shorter than they are. Like, why wouldn't you talk about that?
I think he like felt like, I don't know. My read was that he was happy with Noor, but then he was hurt that she didn't find him attractive. But like, if she had been okay with it, he would have been okay with it. Like, I don't think he minded dating a woman who was taller than him. I think he just like, when she, not surprisingly was not into him, he was really hurt. That was kind of mean though. She just like kept it going to stay on camera. She should have cut him loose.
So she kind of reminded me of, there's this Tim Robinson sketch where it's a similar reality show, kind of like The Bachelor sort of thing. And he plays a character who the host of the show is just like, he keeps like, there's a zip line at their like mansion or villa, wherever all the contestants are staying, and he's just like constantly on the zip line, and the host is just like, I kind of feel like you're just here for the zip line. Have you seen that?
No, but that sounds like a good comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like Noor is just like clearly they meet, and then you could tell she's just like, fuck.
Yeah.
And he sits her down on the couch, and she's like, like she's like making all these like disgusted sounds and like just chirps.
So sad.
Like she doesn't even like want to be near him or be touched by him or whatever. And again, I cannot stress enough how like weird her face is, because it's just like these big inflated lips.
Yeah.
And this like very sleepy look in her eyes constantly. So she's like not really, doesn't emote super well. But anyway, so he's just like, will you marry me? And you can tell she's just like, oh, fuck, I gotta stay on TV.
Yeah.
She's just like, I gotta stay on TV. And she's like, yeah.
Yeah. She was kind of confusing because she talks a lot about like expecting to be provided for and how like she grew up having everything and she wants to continue having that.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I guess, I mean, those aren't my values, but I guess that's okay. Like, I mean, I don't know. But then she also works pretty hard. Like, she's a model. She's making it sound as if like she's not a kept woman. Like, she has a job. You know what I mean? I find that attention strange.
I'm skeptical about how much she's actually a model. I don't know.
I looked at her Instagram page and like, it's not like, I mean, like nowadays, I guess there are like, I think she just like makes money off of ads. You know what I mean? Like she gets sponsored to like promote products, but that is like hard work. You know, I'm not saying it's like, transformative work, but it's still a job, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like it's weird to be like, oh, like I have to be provided for, like as if you're like this helpless thing, but then you clearly kind of are working. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like there's that tension with especially like a lot of like in the US, like the trad wife movement with like people who are trying to like portray this ideal lifestyle, but they are essentially working, like they're creating content for us to consume. Like that's a full-time job, you know? It's just, it's not realistic to pretend that it's like just for funsies, you know?
It is for as long as you want to do it, but I guess if the expectation is that I can stop doing this at any time and whoever I'm with will take care of me.
But realistically, a lot of those women, like, they make most of the income for their household, so they can't just stop doing it, you know? I mean, they're making a lot of money.
Right.
And it takes a lot of time. I mean, you know that. We don't even like create like that much content, but like you have to like, if you're filming your life and making vlogs and editing it, like that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
And labor. Yeah.
It is a lot of time.
Yeah.
What else? There was this other couple, the guy who doesn't really know Arabic very well.
Shafiq, yeah.
Yeah, Shafiq.
He understands, I guess, like Lebanese Arabic, but not Gulf Arabic. But even then, he doesn't speak much of it. So he mostly just spoke in French.
Yeah. French and English.
Yeah.
And he ended up with this young lady.
She's cute.
She's cute.
Yeah.
What was her name?
Everyone really struggled with jealousy. She did too. I don't know what was up with that.
Well, the annoying thing, it is so annoying because I feel like what I see playing out is that I'm surprised by how much, just because I grew up in a conservative sort of household where the norm for me and what I assumed of everyone else is just like it's not okay for the men to date or like even talk about dating or girls or whatever. And it's also definitely not okay for women to date and like all that stuff. So it's like just taboo kind of across the board.
Which is kind of consistent. You're right.
But it seems like the norm among this group of people was like the men, whatever, like go off, have their fun, and like the women do not. Right.
I think that is more the norm in a lot of conservative communities, which is shitty. Yeah.
I thought there would be a little. Yeah, I definitely know that it was like it would be out of balance. I would have expected that, but like I guess it is more so than I thought it would be.
Right.
Where like the men are just like openly admitting to like being like, yeah, I was in like all these relationships that this just didn't work out, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then a woman talks about like, yeah, I talked to this other guy in the pod and he's like, whoa.
This experiment that we're all in. Yeah, exactly.
Hold up. What the fuck you doing to talking to guys in a pod?
Even though that's the whole premise of this show.
You slut.
No, you're so right. Because I forget her name. Was it Dunya, I think?
Dunya.
She like was 24 and had never been in a relationship. And the guy she ended up with, Shafiq, had dated quite a bit.
Yeah.
And he was like, this is very important for me that she has never dated.
Yeah, he was like, that's really important. And he tries to spin it off as like, because I don't want her bringing baggage from other relationships.
Yeah, like so what, he's not doing that? Yeah.
Exactly.
And she said, to her credit, she was like, I think if anything, maybe I would like have more emotional experience.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, you don't need to. He's like, oh,
no, honestly though, I don't want to veer into stereotyping because communities are diverse, but I'm like, obviously you're not like this, so this is not like a true across the board, but I do think that is, maybe we'll cut this. I want to get canceled, but it's not an uncommon position among some Arab men, in my experience.
So that's the thing that I guess is the dynamic I see playing out is very much one that I guess I'm somewhat familiar with having grown up. The frustrating thing is that because there are just these like taboos around intermixing or whatever, and I know some people may hear this and be like, you're just like a Western, you've been corrupted and like all this stuff. And I'm like, whatever. Like, it's not healthy because what happens when you just like estrange people based on like gender segregation, then like no wonder when they like get back together, they've built up this idea of like, this is what a woman does and this is what a man should do. And like, when you find out that like people actually have somewhat complicated histories navigating this like weird bullshit. And you get into knowing someone and like all their complexities and flaws and whatever, then there's a refusal to actually like accept them as like a person.
Yeah.
And because they're not fitting into this
box
mold that you've created, then you start to try to like beat them into that box or like really fit them into it or force them into a role that you just like will not like, I guess, revise in your own mind.
And I think this didn't happen to you, but the other thing that can happen that I've seen happen, especially to some women, is that then they just like don't know, like even when they finally are in a relationship that's intimate, they just like are unable to like really open up. Like they're unable to like be comfortable with people of the opposite, like gender. And it's really kind of stifling.
Yeah. I mean, it's all very shame based, right?
Yeah.
Like if you just don't, if you grow up not talking about that stuff and viewing, certain desires or whatever as wrong, inherently wrong, and immoral, then it just creates a lot of like anxieties and sort of things. And this is definitely something that I deal a lot with. And I think in us being together, not that I was like trying to force you into like anything or whatever, but just like I can definitely empathize with a lot, ironically, like a lot of these women, because I'm just like, oh, like I feel like I had a lot of that shame-based, why can't I think today? Rigidity around like how I should act or like what was good and what was bad and what was okay. Yeah.
And I think you pointed out well, like if people want to like, I mean, I don't know. We don't have any listeners in Dubai. I don't know why I'm like acting like someone's going to come for us this podcast.
I think we do actually. We have
really?
We have like a couple.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
God, well, you're welcome here.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, it's not like this idea of like, oh, like the West is so corrupt. Like, I feel like you had a much more like actual rigid upbringing in like rural North Carolina. I was, 100%. I was going to say like the way that they got to act out was actually like not your experience.
They have piercings and tattoos and like,
hey, you've got a nose piercing now, you rebel.
I do, yeah.
I was so cute when Ahmed got his nose piercing. I like really wanted him to like have the joy of like his parents having a bit of a reaction, but they didn't even notice. And so then I was like, notice like his nose piercing. To their infinite credit, now that he's married, they don't care that much. They were like, oh no, bad. And then they just kind of like went back to what they were doing.
This is for women.
Yeah, they're just basically like,
yeah.
They didn't really lose much sleep over it. Yeah.
But yeah, that's funny. I was thinking about, I'm like, dude, my parents would have killed me if I gotten a tattoo. Like, what?
Yeah. We're like, neither of us have tattoos. And it's so funny how much that varies. Like in some circles, we're the only people we know that don't have tattoos.
Yeah, it's starting to be cool now.
It almost is. Though I love tattoos on people. I think they're awesome. It's
hot,
just not for me personally.
Yeah. Depends. Sometimes people get some that are just like you're just kind of like you look like a sticker book.
I know you have this feeling. I don't feel this way. I think it really, for me, it's more about like I don't have like a general type of tattoo aesthetic I like. It's just like how much it matches the person and their vibe. Like
that's
I think,
true, I think ultimately that's
on some people like something can look really good, and even if it's not like my style,
you can tell sometimes someone got like a tattoo because other people were getting it and it just doesn't really fit.
Or they got it. Yeah, exactly. They got it when they were like 18 and now they no longer want a paw print on there. Sorry, no disrespect if anybody has that or whatever, you know what I mean?
Right. Or a mustache.
Or like an infinity, like, anything like that.
Yeah.
Those kind of a little simple, but if you rock it, good for you.
Yeah.
I know some people too who feel like tattoos are like a story of like their life. And I could see that being kind of beautiful. Like as you change, you still have those kind of markers of other times in your life.
But we don't do that with other things.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you're like it's just like why is it okay with that? Like sometimes you just need to move on. You don't need to be reminded about every point of your life. Like that's why we selectively choose to remember certain things.
Yeah, but I guess it's like things that they want to remember. I don't know.
Like, would you wear the same clothes? You're like, I wore this in middle school.
No, but I would look at photos of it and feel kind of like, oh, nostalgic,
Dude, I go through and I'm like, I do not share this sentiment at all, because the feature I really like on Facebook is that it's just like on this day and it just shows you like what you did on that day
and you
from
delete
like
it.
Several years ago. And I'm like, delete, because this is like just cringe shit. It's so embarrassing.
No, you were such a cutie.
I don't need to be told the story of how like weird I was,
I don't know. I maybe this is like a liberal thing, or not a liberal thing, but I like stories of self and dirty. I think it's sweet to see how you've changed. It's not like, oh, every moment was good, but it still kind of led up to you being who you are. So I can see tattoos kind of telling that story.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that double standard thing is real, and it's really frustrating, and it's something that I'll move off of it and get back to just this show or whatever. But I don't know how to fix it, but it really needs to be addressed. Like it's just like such a bad way. Like it just keeps because it keeps reproducing the same dynamic where people feel hurt and like don't know how to work through that hurt, and then like find partners who don't do a good job like validating them. I don't know. Yeah, it's tough to see.
Yeah, no, it is rough. And I feel like on the show too, you see some of the women kind of internalizing it themselves. You know what I mean? Like being like, oh, like I am better because I haven't dated, or they don't say that explicitly, but it's kind of implied. Yeah. The crazy Moroccan girl and Noor and the Karma, the dancer girl. I think the thing I like about the three of them is the kind of like they kind of embrace that they are not like perfect little archetypes. You know what I mean? I mean, they're stupid reality TV show stars, so it's not that deep, but they are like not trying to be like a perfect woman, you know?
They try to, yeah. I mean, they're doing this other thing where they're, who's the one who's like, yeah, feminism has ruined us.
Oh yeah, that was Noor.
She's like, this expectation that, yeah, like you work and do all this stuff.
Right.
And like, that's not how I want to be. But they are just trying to be like girl boss in like a very like vulgar way, like that I find not that I'm like a woman shouldn't work or whatever. Like I just mean in the sense that like the same way that we would critique like very Western third wave feminism for just being second wave. Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, second wave feminism for just being like, oh, we need to feminize the workplace and like a woman's place is in the office. I'm like, that's also, there are fair critiques to be made of that.
For sure. And like the whole show is like very Dubai, so it's very like gratuitous worship of capitalism. Like they're all like, we go out to eat, and like when you see like a clip of like the couple's year, it's like a lot of it is based on consumerism and like fancy restaurants and like you just like, I don't know, like objects.
And then like being a girl boss to this Moroccan woman's like, she's like, yeah, I can be just as hot tempered as whatever, like, and it just manifests as being like rude to like laborers, like working class waiters and stuff. And I'm just like,
which like props to the guy for pointing that out. That was he was like, there's no point in doing that. Oh, one other gender dynamic that was kind of interesting that I did think was helpful to point out. There was like, it was kind of silly, but like a bunch of the men took a pact together and they were like, we do not want to be the sole financial providers. But I do feel like the pact part was weird.
Yeah.
But I do feel like there's something to that. Like that's a lot of pressure on like men. And I thought that was kind of an interesting dynamic in the show to be like, that's not like, I don't want, you know, like I don't want a partner who wants me just for that, essentially. Like I want to be building towards something else. I think that's fair.
I guess, you know, maybe feels like if it's a reaction to something, then it's coming out as like I don't want to. Yes, what you said, but also I feel like it could be interpreted as these men just don't want women who have standards.
But but that's an unfair standard, I think.
To be a sole provider, yeah, but like
and that seems to be what some of those women like expected and what they were looking for, like Noor.
Yeah.
I feel like that is an unfair gendered expectation.
I feel like if you're an individual and you have that standard for yourself and you communicate it, that's fine. Then like hopefully you find someone who can complement that. I don't think that was the standard of these women across the board though.
No, it wasn't.
You know?
Yeah, it was really just that one person.
So I guess it's weird to me that the men would have had the assumption that all these women, or like that they are all collectively fighting back against the standard that like women just want a guy who's only going to take care of her.
But I wonder if they found that like in their dating lives in Dubai. Like that's kind of what it implied to me, was that they had regularly encountered women who just wanted to like be kind of kept up.
But then they put the women into those roles. They're like, you know, that Moroccan guy was just like, yes, my ideal woman is like a strong woman, but inside she's a baby. She's like she's like a strong baby.
That's true. You're right.
Like, and I'm just like, okay, so like, do you or do you not want a woman who can take care of herself? Like, you just want someone who, like, ultimately what you want is a it's like a taming of the shrew sort of
Yeah,
situation.
that's what I was gonna say. Like you want someone who's really strong that you can then kind of tame.
You want to perform a psychological torturing of someone over the course of like
That's a little
several
harsh.
years. I mean, that's kind of what it is. It's like, oh, I broke this person like a horse, you know?
Yeah. No, and like a lot of the women are very like career oriented, and that's important to them, which is fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The host talking about more mismatches in terms of appearances is the two hosts of the show, or a couple, I forget their names, but she's again like very natural beauty,
Gorgeous. Yeah.
like really.
And when we say natural beauty, we don't know. I mean, she might have also gotten plastic surgery, but it was done in a way that was tasteful. She did.
Yeah.
She looks good. Yeah.
I'm sure she probably got
same, because she just like looks pretty good for her age, but
Yeah.
she's beautiful. Yeah.
And the first time you see them, you're like, okay, it's a pretty good looking couple. 'Cause
Yeah.
he's wearing like a dasha, you know, like
So his head's covered.
his
Yeah.
head's- And then when they came out in subsequent episodes and he was not wearing the head cover, I was like, brother,
That was doing a lot for you.
cover your head. And I listen, as a man who worries about the hair loss stuff, and I sympathize. I'm like, but you're also like much closer to the place where you could make this happen if you wanted. Like you could
You're
get
trying to
plugs.
like, that's so mean. What if he doesn't want to do bodily modification?
If you don't want to do bodily modification, then you cannot do that severe of a comb over.
My thing was, I think he should just go bald at that point, because
He's-
like you
he
could
could-
rock a bald head. Like, yeah.
But
No,
you
what I agree. It was
cannot be that severe of a comb over.
Yeah.
That was too much.
it was rough. Yeah.
Uh,
Definitely, he was looking a lot better with the head covered. That was a better look.
yeah.
Yeah.
Some of these men need to cover their hair, you know? Like seriously, like a lot of it's not only it's a better look, it's just more modest.
Yeah, she's really pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the Syrian guy. I liked his outfit on that last episode. Like it
I
was
liked
just
a
like
lot
a
of his
nice,
outfits.
well-fitted like suit or whatever, but he was like shirtless under the suit jacket.
Yeah, he's continuing to do that.
That's the kind of person who can be doing that,
Uh-huh.
right? But then this like Shafiq also tried to do that on that last episode. I'm like, my guy, like it's not working for you the way that you think it is.
Yeah. I don't know. If you're confident and you want to go for it, go for it.
He's very confident.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess he can pull it off.
I feel like that's the difference often with clothing. Like if you feel good in it, then why not?
Yeah.
There were some cool outfits. Actually, especially the men had some cool outfits.
Yeah.
Yeah. The guy that was like a little bit on the larger side, I forget his name.
Yeah.
He was wearing like a really cool kind of loose suit that had a good look on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the thing we watched the other day where everyone's like outfits were incredible? Oh, that Egyptian movie with my mom.
Oh yeah, that was set in the 50s. That had a ridiculous plot, but
Insane, crazy plot. But like
the entire movie was like a
called? Ben Atlal?
flashback. What was it?
Ben Atlal?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
I don't remember, but yeah. The entire movie was a flashback. But yeah, really amazing. I mean, the tailoring in the 50s is so cool to see, especially the men's suits were incredible.
God, it was so good. Like every outfit. That's what I was kind of looking at while watching the movie, because at a certain point the plot was just ridiculous. Like 90% of the movie was a flashback.
It was hard to hang in there.
And then the beginning part of it was just this feminist who was just like, I don't want to get married. I want to do my PhD. And I was just like, okay. All right. I know someone like that.
Hey, I got
No, I'm
married
kidding.
and did my PhD. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah. But then all the tailoring and stuff was just incredible. I want to dress like that.
Yeah,
Why,
that was
why
good.
don't men dress like that anymore?
I mean, to be fair, it's actually really hard to find good quality clothing anymore.
Yeah.
Like, even when it's prohibitively expensive, like things are not made the way they used to last.
Yeah.
Because people would wear like a suit, every day.
Yeah.
And they would wear the same suit, Yeah.
Yeah. Can't do that anymore.
All right,
Anything
I
else
gotta
about-
get ready for work. Any other last Love Is Blind thoughts? Are you happy you watched it with me?
I don't know about happy. I guess I'm glad it's over. I predict that none of the relationships will work out.
I think the main couple will. Love Is Blind has a much better track record than like The Bachelor and stuff with people staying together.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. I still think that if we met in the pods, we would fall in love.
I still think they should call it Love Is Not Blind.
Nice.
That's it.
All right. Have a good week, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.